If you are requested to do the engine compartment, that's what we're going to do here. The first thing to get to the engine compartment is you have to open this door here by pulling up on that lever. And then you go inside here. In most cases, there's a button here, a lever or a switch. Many times it's yellow. In this case, it's not, but it does have an up arrow, so you lift up on that to release the door. And then we just go around back to open the door. So to do that, we're just going to come around here. We're just going to grab the back of the door, pull hard, and the door will go up. We're going to do the engine pre-trip now. On all parts of the motor coach, your cheat sheet is right in front of you. As long as you see it, say it. If you see something, talk about it. So it really gets to be quite easy to do a pre-trip on a motor coach if you just remember that concept. If you see something, talk about it. The other thing that I find is the easiest is to get into a habit of whatever your habit is. Mine is always start at the left, at the top, and go from left to right, top to bottom. So I'm going to start up here, and I'm basically just going to work my way across the engine, talking about what it is I see as I go. You want to try and keep it just as fast and as smooth as possible. So we're going to start with the pre-trip of the engine. I'm starting here on the left-hand side. I am looking at everything here on the left-hand side. I'm looking at the connections for the exhaust. All of the exhaust system seems to have no leaks, no tears, nothing hanging down. And I'm looking up into, way up into here is where the sight glass is for the radiator. You need to check the radiator fluid amount, and so you have to point out that the sight glass is up here. And I'm going to go continuously back and forth, up and down, and so all I'm doing is scanning. I'm making sure all of my hoses and the fan for the radiator, everything is connected. There's nothing hanging down. There are no drips. There are no leaks. And all the hoses are properly connected. This is the stem to check your transmission fluid. And so you do not necessarily have to do it, but you do have to know how to do it. And what you need to do is this. You say to the tester, this is where I would be testing my transmission fluid. I need to have the coach running and in neutral to do that. Do you want me to do that, or shall I just talk through how I would test it? Most times, your tester is going to tell you just talk through how you would do it to save on time. So then I say, okay, the bus has to be running and in neutral. I'm going to unscrew this, and I'm going to pull it all the way out. And I'm going to use my paper towel, and I'm going to wipe the end off. And it's a very, very long valve stem. I'm going to put it all the way back in, all the way until this is back in its proper location. Then I'm going to pull it all the way back out, and we're talking about this far out. And now I'm going to look and make sure that my fluid is at the right amount for the transmission. And then I'm going to stick it back in. And I would do that on a normal engine check, not when I'm not being tested. So you make sure you tell him that. Now I'm looking at my belts and my pulleys, and my pulleys are all solid. My belts, there are no cracks, no tears, no excess wear on the belt. And so this belt looks good. I am looking here. This is the pulley for the water pump, and the water pump is solid. There's nothing that is leaking from this area. I am looking at these belts. These belts are all no leaks, no cracks, and no tears. They're not excess wear. I'm looking at my hoses going up and down. Everything is connected. There are no cracks, no tears in any of that, and all of my wires are connected. There's no wires hanging down. And so now we're going to check the oil. What I'm going to do, we're actually going to check the oil on this one. So I'm going to twist it, I'm going to pull it out, I'm going to all the way out. This is just long, just like the other dipstick is on the transmission. And I'm going to wipe off the oil off the tip. So we start with a clean tip. And I'm going to put it back in. Be careful not to splatter anyone, because it will, when you do that, it will splatter. And put it back in, and you actually hook it right back in. And then you go back, unhook it, and pull it all the way out. Be careful to check and see that it is full of oil, and it is. And show that to the tester, and take it and put it all the way back in. And that covers the oil, how to check the oil. And then you point out that this is where you put the oil, if you need oil, right here in the oil fill switch. Moving along, and I'm continually looking at my different wires and so forth. And over here, I am now at the alternators. And down here are the alternators, and I'm making sure that they're all securely fastened, that the wires are securely fastened. There's nothing broken, hanging, or damaged on the alternator. This is the air conditioning compressor, and so I'm just making sure my belts are again in their right location, and that any wires coming off of the air conditioning compressor, any hoses, there are no drips or leaks, everything is secure, mounted properly, and the air conditioning compressor looks good. I'm looking back into the engine compartment the best I can see, and looking at all the hoses and wires. They're all connected properly. There's nothing dangling, and there are no problems, no drips, no leaks, no frays, and everything is properly mounted. I am coming around this side over here, and by coming over to this side, I can now look in here and see my fuel filters are clean. I have my power steering is on this side, and I'm going to undo this and pull it out, wipe it off, and just like the oil, I'm going to put it back in. Again, put it in, and then pull it out, and then check it to see that it's at the proper level. That's for the power steering fluid. I'm also looking on this side. You should know that the air compressor on a motor coach is in the front of the engine. You cannot see it. So you have to explain to the inspector that the air compressor for the bus is in the front of the engine. It is gear driven, not belt driven, and as best you can tell, it is secure. You'll test it when you're doing the brake check to make sure that it's working properly. Once you are over here, again, you're looking at all the wires and the belts, the hoses, and all the connections are secure. Everything is mounted properly. There are no drips. There's nothing hanging down, and everything looks solid. And at that point, I have completed the engine inspection.